I'll get straight to the point. Concept 1 and 2 are the names for the newly announced BAE Systems Combat UAV. So they're the new ones. These two models, which have no official name yet, just Concept 1 and 2, were displayed in the 2022 Farnborough International Airshow by BAE. They have significance beyond merely being innovative UAVs though, and I'll just quickly talk about that. So largely, what's got people so interested, so intrigued in Concept 1 and 2 is their potential association with the 6th generation British strike fighter in development, Tempest. On a lot of Tempest mock-ups, it's been seen to be accompanied by smaller, so-called loyal wingman drones. These UAVs were under the program name Mosquito, and unfortunately, that program has been terminated, it's been scrapped. But clearly, considerable development has gone into what was effectively dubbed Lightweight Affordable Novel Combat Aircraft, or LANCAs for short. So one would assume that technology, that innovation, will be implemented elsewhere, in Concept 1 and 2 potentially. So we can draw a link because BAE describes Concept 1 and 2 as being UAS, so not just unmanned aerial vehicles, but unmanned aerial systems, cooperation. They're described as agile and affordable, and so it might not be so far-fetched for people to assume that the Lanka drones under the Mosquito program's development might have been put to theoretical use in Concept 1 and 2. And I would posit that Concept 2 will largely fulfill exactly the role of the foreseen loyal wingman on these mock-ups. Either way, the UAS Concept 1 is a smaller UAV. It's got a payload of only 40 kilograms, so that's currently not even a high enough payload for a singular brimstone unit. A singular brimstone unit is about 50 kilograms. But anyway, one can take from this that there may be more movement to innovate, and to improve payload, one could take from it, that they will improve the carry weight of this particular UAS, or one could see that they may be innovating in smaller munitions. That being, if multiple Concept 1 units were launched at once, as they intend, they would be able to swarm and communicate effectively with each other to make the battle space more mosaic. That is to say, more webbed technology use rather than linear effect. While it may only be speculation on some people's part, it certainly does seem that the emphasis on affordability and their so-called single or swarm ops, single being used as a singular unit, most likely for reconnaissance, sort of traditional UAV role, or as this swarm, this large collection, to converge on a single target with overwhelming numbers all at once, it seems that perhaps innovation in smaller munitions, some even speculate micro or nanotechnology implementation, may allow Concept 1 to operate more effectively. So we'll see what comes of that. Concept 1 is also launched by rail. It has rapid operational readiness, meaning that it can be deployed incredibly quickly if needs be. This would suggest that for combat use, the swarm ops capability is more likely to be used, given that the speed and quantity, it's really impressive. So one can have far more operational in a far shorter period of time. Concept 1 currently has a maximum altitude of 30,000 feet and a cruising speed of max 0.1, which will hopefully give it superior surveillance ability as well, because it's got a better view of the battle space. Its ISR, that being intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance ability, is also superior when one considers its tiny size in comparison to pretty much any other combat UAV. It's really quite small. Its endurance, that is to say the potential time it can remain in the air, is currently only 4 hours, suggesting that it may be used for either smaller taskings or during quick operational deployment taskings, either after urgent mission objectives are received or in order to improve the taking of objectives, particularly if you have land variants. Or it could be used in sort of emergency defensive manners. It also has a parachute landing system, So while one could infer that the system is somewhat expendable, given its apparent cost efficiency, it is reusable multiple times. BAE Systems envisions Concept 1 having 4 potential uses. The first is electronic attack, so that is the use of the electromagnetic spectrum or directed energy in order to control the electromagnetic spectrum to attack an enemy or impede assaults, shut down enemy communication, and also, I would say more notably, to ensure that friendly forces have ample communication, potentially using Concept 1 as a sort of relay point within a hub, a sort of network of information exchange among friendly forces, which could really increase intelligence across the battle space. If multiple units are deployed as a sort of a network, it will keep information flowing. The second use would be air-to-ground strikes, which is fairly self-explanatory, but you would use precision-guided munitions to attack objectives on the ground, probably using swarm ops, or if it's a really precise strike using singular units. Concept 1 may act as both the striker itself, but it can also, given its IRS value, make targets for other aircraft or other Concept 1 units or even a Concept 2 unit. I mean, it really is, it has vast implementation ability. Thirdly, it could be used for classical ISR, so that's, typical operations that UAVs carry out. Given its low cruising speed and low radar cross-section helped by its small size and potentially composite exterior, it would be adept in ISR. Finally, BAE envisions land and maritime variants for use. So one can generally speculate that the ground forces would use UAS for the functions, literally all of the functions I've listed above. For maritime, probably more so the second and the third. Excitement around the idea of Concept 1 is largely due to its interconnected nature. Not only is it suggested to have superior unmanned technology, probably even superior to Tyrannus once it's developed, as I've covered before, but clearly the synergy created via the potential launch of multiple units simultaneously would make for an incredibly interesting and innovative direction for the battle space, and it allows warfighters to use mosaic warfare to their advantage. In any case, we shall see whether the current conception of Concept 1 ever enters the actual battle space, ever enters active service, but I truly think it would create an enhanced and sort of concerted effort and maximise an operator's ability within the battle space. Apologies, it's rather hot here. I thought I might just speak for a moment on how they compare with other models, and sort of compare the emerging UAV market. So there were some more classical combat drones seen in Farnborough 2022. When I say classical, I don't mean the sort of protector drone classical. I mean the sort of classical you would, if your neighbour bought a drone, the sort of drone you'd envisage there. So 4 times rotor, large civilian drones, various models appear, carrying effectively a singular missile. It's the sort of drone one sees mock-ups of Sky Warden being, which is a laser shooting drone. Anyway, back to the point. In regard to how they compare, I certainly think that being able to remain stationary for these 4 times rotor drones, land and take off again, it may show real promise, particularly given their probable impressive maneuverability. Like the US model in development, the drones are able to coordinate complex attacks on a superior level. Their coordination, even when looking at stuff like, civilian use, the technology used in, I don't know if you've seen, they've got like drone Christmas tree displays, it's quite cool, but they have proper coordination, so that's not necessarily hindered, and generally this may create a more mosaic battle space. I hate to sound like a broken record, which would probably only be improved by their comparatively smaller size. One can't say for now exactly how these two drone types would compare, but I would say that the UAVs we see in Concept 1 and 2, at least in Concept 1, they're certainly more durable than these sort of roto-drone counterparts, and they can remain in the air longer because, their usefulness is beyond merely attacks on land. And if one were considering this more civilian type drone to be used, you equip a missile, it would be more fighting against infantry. On land, possibly armour, but not much else. It's for small, short-term taking of objectives, and its battery life, as I say, would probably be somewhat short. It may not be viable for more heavy-duty attacks, support, or relaying of information, as I think Concept 1 and Concept 2 probably would be. So I'll do Concept 2 in a moment.